Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good, good. Miss Lilia, can you mute yourself? Because okay, good, good, good. Yeah, I couldn't come to the campus. I have a family emergency, so to take care of it. But I believe you guys got my messages, and you can go from there. I have marked you to present. Hopefully, the other ones will be joining us. Will be joining us very soon. Now, let's begin. Let me take you to the website. I think I opened so many pages, so I'm gonna close some of them so that we can be able to have enough room. Okay, good. All right. Let's see. I will take you to the college website so that I will show you what is due this week. We have this is my announcement for week 2. You guys can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Good. Now, more people are joining. Let me mark the attendance for them. Okay, Pascal, Anija, okay. Georgia, mark her present. Who else? Mary, you can have Mary. All right, good, good, good. All right. The week 2 activities and assignments, we have to read the 2 chapters. Of course, you all know the book is free. I showed you where to download the book, the textbook, and save it. So those 2 chapters. And then you can also read my presentation. Then do test 2. Test 2 have 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. They are due next Sunday. Remember, test 1 is due this weekend. So please complete them by tomorrow. But test 2 is for next week. Before you do test 2, just like test 1, make sure you finish chapters 2 and 3. They are really interesting chapters to read. You're going to learn a lot from them. And then the presentation. Before we begin, any question for me? Hello, scholars. Any question for me?
Sorry. I do have a question regarding the orientation test. I got 9 out of 10, and one of the questions was very simple, and I got it wrong. It kind of like, I don't know if I should ask you right now or later, because I don't know if everyone else.
Go ahead.
But it was like,
are you Kanija Pascal?
Sorry?
What's your name?
My name is Lily.
Oh, Lily. Oh, Lily's there. Okay. So what happened?
So one of the questions said like how many multiple choices questions were in the test, and it was 10, and I put 10, and I got it wrong. So I don't know.
Even though you put 10?
Yes, I did, and I have a screenshot in case you wanna.
Yeah, send it to me. Send it to me, then I'll update it after the class today. Update it. Great.
Oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we can begin. Today we're working on economic environment. You can see the presentation, right? Everyone? Let me see. Yeah, you can see the presentation. Good. Now, we'll be covering these areas, the meaning of economics. Yeah, even though this is an introduction to business, so still part of the course content is part of it is economics. So we're covering it, the economic environment, things like economic systems, demand and supply, market equilibrium, and others. Let's start with economics. I'm sure you must have heard of this name before, economics. So broadly speaking, the best way to describe economics as a sub course is that it studies how human beings make choices under conditions of scarcity. And that is what we do in economics. So that decision can be made by, it can be a single individual, a family or families, businesses, and or societies, countries. So everything that an individual or society decide to do have some kind of economic dimensions. For instance, if we decide to choose to work more, that means we are going to sacrifice some hours that we should have used for leisure. So that means we decide to work more, we have limited time to spend on leisure activities. So if you see the trade-off, if you decide to put more time in leisure activities, that means you have less time to work. And all of them have implications. See, now how about this? If you choose to study, then we have less time to spend with friends or less time to watch TV. Now, when let's look at this from the government side. Suppose we decide to that the government, maybe the county or Baltimore City, for example, decide to increase the budget for public schools. That means you will have less money to spend on public safety. And then if they decide to increase money on public safety, they will have less to spend on the schools. So in other words, everything an individual or a society decide to do have economic dimension and implication as well. So by studying economics, we can understand the decisions that individual families, businesses, or societies, which can be country, county, city, make. So economics help us to understand every decision or the implication of the decisions that these people make. So because, especially given the fact that there are never enough resources to address every need of the society, so we have to, make choices. Now, this leads us to scarcity. If you remember this definition of economics says that in economics, we study human behavior, particularly how they make choices under conditions of scarcity. So with scarcity, when you say scarcity, what we are referring to is that things are, or resources are limited in supply. Nobody have, even millionaires that their demand and supply for basic goods and services can say that they are not affected by price. But when they want to make investment, let's say that a billionaire want to buy Warren Buffett, for example, want to spend $2 billion in investment, and he has two stocks. Let's say the stock of IBM and Walmart. If he decides to spend the entire $2 billion on IBM, he will not have anything to spend on Walmart. And if he decides to spend the entire $2 billion in Walmart, he will have nothing to spend in IBM. Now, if he decides to spend only $1 billion in IBM, then he will have less money to spend in Walmart, which is $1 billion. So scarcity is a thing that affects everybody or every society, simply because there's never enough resources to meet all our needs and desires. See? So as a result of this, it makes sense to say that we live in a world, or living in a world that's of scarcity involves trade-offs. So scarcity forces us to choose. And choices are costly because we must give up something. We must give up other opportunities that we have. For example, now that you're in class now, you can't be somewhere else because you're not in class. So you made the choice to be in class. That means instead of going to the gym or even sleeping, because after all, it's a Saturday. See, you have less time for that because you have to be in the class. You see. So since you are in class, listen to me, you give up all the things you value, things like sleeping, working out, shopping for groceries, or even spending time on social media. So in other words, as families, individual or government must decide whether to spend their money on a new car or on a fancy vacation. So towns or cities or even states, they have to choose whether to put more of the budget into the police force or to put more in fire protection or in the school system. So they have to figure out a way to allocate those resources. If they put a lot of money in fire protection, they will have less to put in police or the school system. Now, like I said, as a country, you must also decide whether to allocate more funds to national defense or more funds to doing things that will protect the environment. So usually there is not enough of money to put in both at the same time. So the government have figured out a way to make the kind of trade-off they might make in that regard. So economists help us to decide that individual families, businesses, or societies help us to understand the choices that they make, because there's never enough resources to address all the needs and desires, which lead us to the concept of opportunity cost. I would say that opportunity cost is just, we call it the cost of a foregone alternative. So that means if you decide to, let's say that you have $10, you normally spend $20 for lunch, and usually you buy a sandwich and soda. Now for one particular day you want to eat something different. You still want sandwich, but you want to eat fried rice with wings. Now you remember you have only $20, so if you spend it, let's say $18 or $15 in fried rice and chicken, you won't have any more to spend on sandwich. If you decide to spend the money on sandwich, you have less for fried rice and chicken. So you have to make the choice. So now, when you decide to buy fried rice and chicken for $15, that means you cannot buy the sandwich. So that means sandwich that you couldn't buy becomes your opportunity cost. Now, if you decide to spend $15 on sandwich, that means you cannot buy fried rice and chicken wings. In that case, fried rice and chicken wing becomes your opportunity cost. So a fundamental principle of economics is that every choice that we make has an opportunity cost. Every choice at all. It doesn't have to be something like economics alone. Example again, let's say you decide to marry one person. That means you can marry the other person and vice versa. So every choice we make, whether it is something to do with economics or not, there's always an opportunity cost. So they say that General Motors this year want to spend $200 million on car inventory. If they decide to spend it to produce only what they call it, Cadillac Escalade, that means they won't have enough money to produce Pontiacs. They don't have money to produce Pontiacs. So that means they have $200 million to produce different brand of car this year. If they spend the whole $200 million to produce Escalade, Cadillac, they will not have money to produce Pontiac. So Pontiac becomes their opportunity cost. Now, if they decide to produce more Pontiac, they will not be able to produce Cadillac Escalade. That one that they cannot produce becomes the opportunity cost. The same thing applies to the federal government. If they decide to spend more money, more tax revenue to improve the environment, it does not have that expense. That same money cannot be used to provide health and education. In that case, health and education become the opportunity cost. So any amount you could not spend on the foregone alternative becomes your opportunity cost. So this leads us to the concept of the division of labor. Now, the division of labor involves dividing jobs into many specialized parts. So with a single worker or a few workers assigned to each part. Now, this method, before the concept was applied to business, usually when they want to produce a car, a company wants to produce a car, they will start from the beginning and build the car to the end. Then after that, they will start to build another car, one after the other. So that method takes time. So the division of labor now, which was that concept was actually made popular by the economist Adam Smith, who is a Scottish philosopher and economist. He found that if they break those work of making a car or a pin, whatever, into different stages and assign one individual to do each stage, that means let's say that somebody, I don't know if any of you have worked in a warehouse before. Say that your job might be to put label on a package. Once you put label on the package, you pass it to the next person. Then the person on your other side give you another package, you put the label and pass it out. So if they divide jobs in that manner, with people specializing in doing only one part of the job, the output will increase significantly. So Adam Smith, in his book, The Wealth of Nations, found that this is the case, and he popularized the concept. So Smith actually introduced the idea of division of labor. He made it very popular, and which means that the way a good or service is produced is divided into smaller tasks that are performed by different workers instead of all the tasks being performed by the same person. His argument is very simple. He counted how many tasks that are involved in making something as small as the pin. You know, the pin. Let me see, 1 minute, just 1 minute, let me see. Just 1 minute. Okay. Give me 1 minute. I want to show you something. Oh, excuse me. Okay, this is it. 1 minute. Just to make sure it's me. Give me 1 minute. Put these things together. Pan 3. Okay. It's not pan 3. This should be good. All right. So Adam Smith, let me see if you can give us idea. Okay, pin. So look at the pin. Okay. Things like this. So I'm gonna put it in a Word document. So this is when I say the pin. This is what I mean by the pin. The pin. This is the pin right here. It has a head and the body and the point. Now, so Adam Smith was saying that in the making of this pin, somebody, if the job is divided into different tasks, so he counted how many tasks that are involved in making the pin. The number of tasks involved drawing out a piece of wire, cutting it the right length, straightening it, and putting a head on one end and a point on the other end, then packaging the pin for sale. And so on all these tasks, he counted 18 different tasks that are separate, that can be done by each individual. That means 18 different people working on this pin. One person will only do the cutting, then he passes it to the next person. The person will do the straightening, Now, according to Smith, he says that when tasks involved with making a pin are divided and subdivided, and the workers can produce a greater quantity of pins. So according to his study, if one person alone do all the tasks, he can produce only 20 pins in a day. But when a small business have 10 workers, some of which would need to do only 2 aspects of making the pin, at the end of the day, they produce 48,000 pins. So you compare that to 20 pins and 48,000 pins in a day. You can see the difference. That is the idea of division of labor. So, the natural question to ask now becomes, how can a group of workers, each specializing in certain tasks, produce so much more than the same number of persons who try to produce the entire goods by themselves? Well, there are 3 reasons for that. There are 3 reasons. One is that when they divide jobs in that manner, people specialize in doing only one aspect of it. So, when you're doing the same thing over and over, you master the task, okay? That means by focusing on one task instead of on multiple tasks, you become very good at it. So when they become very good at it, that means you can produce more at a given number of times. So, in other words, as workers become more adept at a specialized task, they become more efficient and production increases. So, in other words, the division of labor increases specialization or leads to specialization, which in the long run, or which further leads to increase in output. Another reason is that specializing in a particular job allows workers to focus on the parts of the production process in which they have an advantage, and in which they are very good at. So, naturally, people have, some skills or talents or even interests that they have. They are more good at it than other people. Everybody has it. So that means that they will be better at some job than others. So when you break it down, then in those, section, making of a product in those sections, and then each person specializes in doing one part of it, they become so good at it that Apple will grow. So this is actually the principle behind mass production. That is the main thing that made many of our factories become very big and successful. For example, only those with medical training can qualify to become doctors. For example, if you qualify to become doctors, then it's work for more efficient. Nobody can just jump into that profession without being trained for that. And for some goods, specialization will be affected by geography. For example, it is easier to be a wheat farmer in North Dakota than in Florida. But when you want to run a tourist hotel, it is easier to do that in Florida than in North Dakota. So now we have the Another reason then that to give is this: when production increases, specialization allows businesses to take advantage of economies of scale. You know, when you buy something, let's say that you want to buy, what do I best to use as an example to use? Best example to use is this: when you want to buy a can of soda in a convenience store, you know, Pepsi, kind of Pepsi. They might say, okay, one can is $1. Now, but if you go to regular grocery store, you want to buy a pack of it, they give you a pack of 12, maybe for $3. We actually check the unit price. You see that is about 40 cents compared that to buying one can of soda in a convenience store for $1. Compare it to buying a pack in which each can is 40 cents. You see that you have we call it economies of scale. So with specialization that resulted from the division of labor, it allowed businesses to take advantage of economies of scale, which means that for many goods, as the level of production increases, the average cost of producing each item declines. So that is that when this happens, we say that when production increases, then the unit cost of production decreases. I give an example here with the pharmaceutical industry. Suppose that a company make medications, develop a new treatment through research and development. So that research and the cost of that research and development might be, let's say it is $1 million or $2 million, for example. But once the drug have been medication have been developed and approved for distribution, that fixed costs of research and development and other expenses they incurred become fixed. So the more, because once they develop it and they become approved, they have a patent to sell it. No other company can sell it until they finish. After that, until their patent expires. So that over those years, they'll be selling it, and their cost is still the $2 million because that's how much they spend in research and development. You can see that as the quantity increases, the unit cost decreases. In other words, when the drug is the drug maker or the medication maker experience economies of scale as the production and sale of the drug expands, since the per unit cost of developing the medication decreases as each additional unit is sold. You know, so we can look at some modern days example of division of labor. I'll use Apple, for example. If you go to their if you have your Apple phone, you know, we all know about Apple phone. Each of the components, some of them were made in outside the US. You know, like some of the chips that we use in an Apple phone are made outside, many of them are made outside US. Then the components of the phone itself, the electronic components, one might be made in China, one might be made in even in another country. So, but because what are they making them in another country? Because it's much cheaper. Labor is very cheap in those countries compared to US. You know, in US you have to pay for minimum wage, you have to pay for health insurance and the workers' comp. Then you have to make sure that the work environment is very safe. You have to meet up the safety standard. All these things add to the cost of production. So now the Apple or any other company I say, okay, let me divide this job, send some part of it to those that can be done more cheaper way to another country, offshore, you know, outsource it. Then those that can be done better here and cheaper, do it here. So you have divided that labor. So because of that, people can afford to buy this phone. Otherwise, if all the labor, everything is done in US, the cost might be up to 3 times what it normally costs now. Okay. Now, how about trade? Trade between nations can be considered division of labor as well. but each country specializes in what they can do better. You know, for example, companies or countries that can produce crude oil cheaper, because they have it and make it and then sell it to a country like US, who is much better when it comes to IT, you know, and medical devices. So and then they can trade, you know. Now, how about organization, businesses? You have divisions there too, organizational structure. You have the manager, you have the accountant, you have the HR person, then you have the field worker, you know, the floor employees like clerks, and so on and so forth. So it has a division of labor. Everybody focus in what they are doing better, and that you know lead to a better outcome. Now, at this point, we are ready to look at trade and market. Now, most of the relationship between two countries in most cases, have to do with trade, because trade increases wealth by allowing a person or a region or even a nation to specialize in those things that they have a lower opportunity cost. And then, okay, I have a lower opportunity cost in making iPhone, for example, and your other country have a lower opportunity cost in making pen, or maybe making expensive wine. So everybody specializes in what they can do so they can produce more, and then you can trade. Okay, and I can make this one cheaper, but I cannot make the other one cheaper. So I make the one I can make cheaper, you make the one you can make cheaper, then we can trade. That's the essence of international trade. So trade has this many of advantages, like trade like technology creates new and higher paying jobs for Americans and for their trading partners. And then some countries naturally have, you know, abundant raw materials. For example, Qatar have oil, and have New Zealand have, you know, have a lot of, you can make butter cheaper. Congo have a lot of diamonds. So without trade, all these countries will not have benefit from the natural endowments of raw materials. So, and as a matter of fact, the founding fathers of the United States, trade is one of the main reasons, you know, that led to the American Revolution. So, you know, Britain is, if you look at this, one of the statement that the founding father made, they said that Britain is cutting off their trade with all parts of the world. So one of the reasons for it, and of course, you know about the Stamp Act and all those things. Those things have to do with trade. So the founding father said that you can't be taxing us without representation, and they tried to create a free trade area among the states that allow interstate commerce to flow freely. Anyway, I think I get the point. Now, the national question is how does the market allocate resources? Okay, how does the market allocate resources? Now, the market economy provides millions of the market economy will provide a way for millions of people to of producers to allocate scarce resources. And remember, economics is about how human behavior with respect to how they make decisions in this case of scarcity. So in a market, resources are allocated based on demand and supply. So that means price. In the when resources are allocated on the basis of demand and supply, price now is one of the main factor that is very important, because it provides a signal to when it comes to how to what to spend on different. I would say, let me put it this way: price plays a signaling function because it allocates resources to production of different types of goods. So we also use price as the signaling mechanism between buyers and sellers. So the price tells the seller, okay, how much to buy and how much to produce. Now, the price is too high, And if they feel that the consumers may not want to buy it at this price, they might decide not to produce it, that product, because to make money, they have to raise the price. And if the demand for the price is too high for the consumers, and they feel that they may not make a sale, or they may not make a sale enough to reap the profit, they might decide to go for another different product. Now, if the price is high sometimes, and the demand is, if the price is high enough and they can make profit from it, then they can produce it if they believe that the demand will be there. People will buy it. So in other words, markets may not always lead you to your desired taste and preferences, because market do not come with moral compass. They simply provide the buyers and needs, the buyers need, and what sellers are willing to and able to produce. In other words, the market some market can be illegal, because what market does is there a demand for this. If there's a demand for this, and the producers are going to make money from that, they will supply whatever it is. That's why we still have a narcotic drug trade, because yes, there are some people who want stuff like that. So even though it's illegal, there are people who want to take the risk, produce it, because there's a demand for it. See, so that's why I say that the market does not have a moral compass. All it does is to allocate resources. Price. Is the price good enough for me to make profit from this? Then there's a demand for it. Okay, fine, I'll produce it. That is what the market does. Now, at this point, we are going to we have 2 minutes left. Okay, let me see if I can review this difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics, because there are 2 branches of economics, micro and macro. So in microeconomics, we focus on individual agents, individual household, individual worker, or individual business. So under microeconomics, we try to provide this following answer to the following questions. What determines how individuals and households spend their money? How do people decide whether to work full-time or part-time? How do people make that sort of decisions? How do people decide how much to save? So, like I said, we are dealing with individual person, individual household, or individual firm or company. That is microeconomics. Now, what determines what prices a firm will charge? What determines how a firm will produce its products? What determines how workers it will hire, how many workers it will hire? These are the kind of questions we ask in macroeconomics. I would say microeconomics, but in macroeconomics, we are talking about the whole country, the whole economy. It focuses on things like growth, economic growth, unemployment, inflation, trade balance between US and another country. So we are talking about the whole economy. We're talking about macroeconomics. But if we're talking about individual units or individual firm, we're talking about microeconomics. Now we have a little time left, less than 1 minute. So I'm gonna time us out, but wait for 10 minutes, then log back in again after 10 minutes using the same link that you use to log in now. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Yeah. Please wait for it will time us.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. If it will time us out, wait for 10 minutes and log back again using the same link. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, so that we can continue. Yeah. All right, I see you back here in 10 minutes then.